Thank you for the good introduction. So, my name is Sathish. I'm CEO of ZippyOps. We are majorly into automating the operations world. Like the word ZippyOps is, Zippy means faster, ops for operations. So, our motto is to how we can deliver a quality product faster to the market when we started the company. Then we realized that security is a very integral part of it, and recent time you might have heard about lots of things around security. The latest one is Log4j vulnerability. Everyone might have heard about. So how we can integrate security as a part of it, that's where the new word came into picture is called DevSecOps. Integrating the security in part of your DevSecOps pipeline, DevOps pipeline, that's called DevSecOps. So let's talk about what all the tools are good to have, must to have, and why you need to put that into your application deployment or your infrastructure. So first, let me start with a metaphor. What is security in computers and how I can relate it with a real-time scenario? Imagine you have a castle, and imagine that castle is having 65,500 gates. How you would manage it, right? Your system is nothing but a small piece of electronic device, which is, you can communicate to the device via 65,500 plus ports, okay? So what people do? So initially they brought in firewalls, right? By which they are closing all the unwanted doors. They brought in network security access control, through which with firewalls and network access control, they have blocked all the unused doors so that they will ensure that no one is entering to the castle via the unmonitored doors. Okay, fine. So you wanted guests or your customers to visit your castle, and from there they want to gather some data into it. Okay, so for that they have opened only few port numbers. Let's take a web-based application, which basically you will open 443 onto it. Okay, they landed, and imagine they are in your drawing room, that is your web server, and they wanted to access some information. Okay, from the drawing room you are having a pathway to your area that's called app servers or database servers. You collect the data from them and you present the data in the drawing room. Okay, so now what happens, the way the communication between the drawing room or in the safe room, we have one mechanism there, and now we see vulnerabilities into that area also. Like you are writing a code which is having a vulnerability in it, and the hackers who act like a guest come to your drawing room, and using that vulnerability, they are getting into your safe and stealing the unwanted data. How you are going to protect that, right? And next thing is, we nowadays use lots of libraries from internet. Like, I want a functionality, there is a library available in the internet, so I will take it and I will use it. No one knows what is inside the library, whether they have any malicious code sitting there, or is there any vulnerability sitting there. Who is going to identify those things? And nowadays, all the product teams are very much vigorous. They want to go to the market first. When it comes to a question like, my security check is failing, and I have a release date tomorrow, which one takes the priority? Security or release? Release. So what peoples or the leaders will say this, okay, let's deploy the product and let's work on that later. But what reality happens? When they release the product, new issues comes in, they will target on the issues. This security always takes the back seat. Okay, but that is going to put your organization in a risk, because I have a statistics which is going to talk about how many companies are out of business because of a cyber attack. Okay, so let's talk about this. So here we are going to talk about what all the cyber security and controls and defenses currently are being deployed. Okay, and what are all the challenges nowadays faced by the cyber security, because there is a increase in number of peoples who become hackers. Now there is a new word called hacktivism come into picture, right? It is no longer they say that hacking is ethical. If someone is doing bad, I will just wage a war against them using activism. So things are evolving a lot in that. So we'll talk about that, and why I need to automate, why I need to bring in automation and artificial intelligence into the security space. What is the advantage I'm going to get it? And I'm going to talk about major security automation tools in the market. Here I'm not going to give any tool name, I'm just going to talk about the components. Like for example, you might have heard about a term called static code analysis. There are multiple tools available for that. But what is static code analysis and why we should use it? That's what we are going to discuss there. Okay. So, what are all the cybersecurity controls and cyber defenses currently in place? First one is the network and perimeter security, which I talked about. Firewalls, your network access control list, you have IDS, IPS, that's called intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system, lots of devices which can control how the traffic is reaching your application. And next is the endpoint security. Nowadays, it's full of API world. If application is not allowing a API, it's no longer called as application, right? So, endpoint security. And then application security. Application security is where when an application is hosted, there are n number of security threats it can post, like SQL injection. You have a SQL query which is exposed to the external world, where I can give an input. I can form my own query and fetch all your data from your database. So how I am going to avoid that? There is clickjacking available, right? And then a spoofing of validated devices. So how we are going to achieve it with the application security. And next is the data security, how I am going to protect my data, how I am going to enable it, and how I am going to identify if more management requests are coming to my database rather than a data request. Then there is something wrong is going on my database, how I am going to avoid that. And next is cloud. Nowadays, every business is doing like even a single component is available, small components are available in cloud because of the elasticity. How I am going to ensure my cloud account is secure. If you see that recent days, most of the data loss happened due to the data in cloud because people will think that, okay, if I put my data in a S3 or something, it is safe. No. If you make it is public, your data are in risk. We need to say that. And then next is identity and access management. You need to have a single system through which you can authenticate and authorize a user. And next is the zero trust architecture. In the previous slide, he has explained about what is a zero trust architecture. You cannot trust anything, a device, a service, a user. You need to ensure that they are authenticated and authorized to do their activity. Then only you should allow them into the system. Okay. So what are all the top cybersecurity challenges now? One is growth of activism, I told about. Like nowadays it's waging a war against any target in the name of activism. And next is evolving nature of security risk. So security risks are not something, as I told you, that we have 65,000 doors open, right? I have a firewall which is blocking all the unwanted doors. And I cannot say that all the 65,000 are safe until someone comes and blow a whistle saying that there is an issue, someone has to apply that. Typical example is heartbleed attack, SSL v3 vulnerability. No one will, like it was there for like 4 or 5 years until and unless someone come and blow a whistle saying that there is an issue, you need to go and fix it. The same applies with Log4j. It was there since the beginning of Log4j. So these securities are evolving, how you are going to keep up your pace to match this evolving of security risk. And next is new technology vulnerabilities. Here we are talking about all the latest technology. But are we sure that all these technologies are not vulnerable at all? No, because previously when we talk about application, there will be 3 layers, like web, app, and database. Nowadays we are bringing n number of layers with microservices coming into picture. We are having an underlying hardware, on top of that I have a operating system, on top of that I have a hypervisor, on top of that I'm running my containers, on top of that my application is sitting. Any issues in any one of the layer is going to be a problem for you. So there are lots of new technologies coming in, by the same time it is bringing in the vulnerability. And then next is keeping up with the advance in attacks, right? If I'm a hacker, I found a vulnerability on, let's say, HDFC Bank website, through which I can go and I can get some 10 rupees out of it without no one's knowledge. Will I come out and blow a whistle and say that, hey, there is a vulnerability, go and fix it? Not really. I will try to use it as much as possible. So number of whistleblowers are very less, so that the advancement in the attack is happening. And there is one good concept happening in the security. I call it as a bounty hunters in security. There is a platform called HackerOne where they will collect all the data and they will allow hackers to come and analyze the data, and they will say that, okay, if you found some vulnerability, you are getting paid for it. That's a good concept, and I would like a lot of these kind of platforms has to come in so that we'll get more whistleblowers into this technology. Okay? And then faster contamination and mitigation. Like if one server is impacted, it is literally equivalent to your whole data center is impacted, because all the threats are designed in a way that when it finds a way, it will try to repeat that on all the servers. And then shortage of qualified cyber security personnels. The number of developers coming in the market to the number of cyber security experts in the market are very, very less. That's why it's still in a niche technology. So these are all the top security challenges. And let's talk about normal scenario. I would like, anyway, I saw the number. Anyone can guess what is the number of attack requests happening on a single day in this world? Any guess?
I know every second, 292, every single second.
That number is less actually. I'll just show you. Yeah, thank you. This is the yesterday's data. It is 8.8 billion attack requests happened yesterday. It is based on Imperva. So yesterday it was maximum. I think today when I checked it, it was around 7 billion. So 7 billion attack requests happening in the world. And you see, these are some of the parameters. What is the most targeted? It's Russia is 62%. Sorry. Ukraine is 18 because of the current situation. And most attack requests are coming from US and Russia. And majority of the attack is happening using the mechanism DOS, that's called denial of service. So not all hackers just want to steal your data. They just want to collapse your business. They will just come and hit your servers with unnecessary data, and you will not be able to serve the person who really wants the service. So that is the maximum it's happening. And application threat and OWASP, that is Open Web Application Security Procedure, where they have listed down what are all the application vulnerabilities available. So almost 18% of attacks are happening on that area. And most target industry, obviously it will be finance. And then next is your business and computing IT. This is the yesterday's data as per Imperva. Okay. And next is, yeah. So if you see about recent times, most of the, nowadays no one is scanning your server for open ports and trying to hit it. Those are like, even like there is a concept called script kids. Even script kids are not doing this right now. So everyone is trying to target the application layer and identify the issue and try to get into your server using that application issue. And then because of this microservice and other areas, so all the companies who are implementing microservice, they use images from the internet. No one is building the image locally. And no one is sure that whether the images are really safe or not, right? Because I'm going to Docker Hub and pulling an image and using it. One thing is, it is from Ubuntu or CentOS. I just believe the names, but I don't know whether they are secure or not. Because you guys might have heard about the case in Red Hat. Red Hat is taking the transaction data, and there was a case still going against them. So we don't know whether the images are secure or not. And next is 60% of the small companies which are started after a cyber attack, they are out of the business within 6 months of time. Okay, so we need to take the application security as a serious business. So that's why I just wanted to show these facts. And next is, most of the cyber attacks are happening due to the human errors, right? That's why we wanted to bring in automation there. So there was a study by IBM, okay? Human error has caused 95% of the cyber security breaches. It might be a developer who opened a SQL query with an open-ended, it can accept inputs, or it can be a phishing attack. Like a user receives a mail, he clicks on that, and it take control of your local network, right? And whenever there is a data breach happened, so it cost them $133 to retrieve the data or to get the data back because of the ransomware and other things. This is the average. So let's not, we need to implement an automated or artificial intelligence mechanism to overcome these kind of issues. Yeah. So, what is the advantage I'm going to bring in when I implement security automation? Okay, first thing is I can do a faster threat reduction. Like for example, I have a IDS system or IPS system implemented, or I have implemented a SIEM solution, that is Security Incident and Event Management System, which can scan all your logs and it can identify the anomaly and it can report it immediately. I can take the mitigation action faster. So you can do a faster threat detection and faster contamination also. Okay, and it improves your productivity because it takes a lot of time for a security analyst to scan the application and scan the code and give the result to the end user. So it basically improves the productivity and it standardizes the security process. Like before going into the market, you can ensure that your product is secure so that you are not compromised because of the vulnerabilities there. And then you are in line with the regulatory compliance. Like whenever there is a compliance happening, during the audit time itself, only you will go and collect the data and present it to the auditor. Here, if you implement the automation, everything is stored. You don't need to spend time in collecting the data. You can just give the access to the auditor to the system. He can go through it and then he can confirm whether the audit are passing or not. And next is, you will get an improved confidence in the company reputation. Okay? Yeah. So let us talk about what are all the essential application security tool. In the infrastructure, I talked about IDS, IPS, firewalls, your anti-malwares, which you normally have it. In the application security tool, what are all the core tools which are used and why we are using it? The first one is called as the static application security testing, which is basically scan your static code, which is equivalent to a white box testing, where the code will be scanned against vulnerability, and if there is anything identified, that will be displayed so that the developer can fix that issue. Another one is called as the dynamic application security testing, which is basically a black box testing where the hosted application will be hit with vulnerabilities and they will identify the issue on it and the developer will work on fixing the issue to it. And adding to that, there is one more thing comes into picture called interactive application security testing, which is combination of both static and dynamic application testing, which is majorly used in the industry nowadays. And next is called as the software composite analysis. That means you use a library and you want to identify any vulnerabilities on the library, you can use a tool for that. And then next is your database security scanning. While explaining, I talked about in the database, you want to ensure that there is only data transaction happening, not more management transaction happening. There are tools for that which can scan your database security configurations and report the options of it. And then is mobile application security testing. Nowadays you have a mobile app which basically scans your mobile app for any vulnerability and provide a report on that. And next is called as a application security testing, which is basically like a service. Like you engage a hacker and ask the hacker to try to break your application and he provides a report out of it. So that one is called the application security testing as a service. So you will get a better approach rather than the tools on this area. And collating all these 7, you need to have a centralized area where you can track what is happening, whether it is a false positive or a real issue. That is one more biggest issue in the security field is like, it will detect an issue, but it may be a false positive. So all the companies are working towards reducing the false positives. So you need a system in which you can collate all the data and then you can do it in a presentable format, and based on that, you can take a decision whether I should move the application to the next environment or not. That is called the application security testing orchestration is the tool for that. And next is your test coverage analysis, like which normally do in the unit testing. How many line of codes has been added into the coverage? The same thing applies here, test coverage. How many lines of code you have covered in the application testing. And next is your correlation tool, which basically correlate all the results and give you an end result where it says I need to target on this particular issue and I need to solve this, and it should give me a solution for that, right? What should be the solution? What is the evidence for that, so that I can go back and fix this area. So this is the list of essential application security tools you should use in your application deployment lifecycle. And next is the infrastructure, which I already talked about. Network access control, your DLP solution, which ensures that the data moving out of your organization are properly verified. And then your firewalls, your IDS and IPS systems, endpoint protection, identity and access management system, and then cloud access security broker, which basically sits in between your cloud communication so that you can avoid any issues in the cloud connections, and then anti-malware, endpoint detection and response, and mobile threat defenses. Okay, this is mostly more organization will use it. And nice to have is like SIEM solution, which I told like you should know if there is a threat happening, it should be able to identify from the logs and it should report this as an incident. And then WAF firewalls, web application firewalls, because till now we are using firewalls in the layer 4, which will just read the packet and then decide. Now you need to read the content which is coming into the application and you need to do that. That's called WAF. And then authorization softwares you need to use. You need to use endpoint encryption mechanism, and then virtualization security, right? You use a Docker, you need to ensure security in the Docker layer, or you use a VMware, you need to ensure security in the VMware layer, and then user activity monitoring. This will help you to identify the anomalies on the application. Like normally I used to get 10 GB of network traffic. Suddenly it is increasing to 20 GB. I need to identify what user is doing what. And then endpoint compliance, and then security incidents response, container security, and then cloud workload security. You need to ensure all these tools are there. Okay. So next, last but not least, as ZippyOps, what we are offering, we help organization in consulting and implementing the DevSecOps solutions. We work with you, understand your application nature, and then implement the DevSecOps solution. And we have one more product called Automate CAS. This is the world's first SaaS platform to ensure that your servers and applications are compliant to market standards like HIPAA, SOX, CAS standards level 1 and level 2, and then PCI. So basically what it does is, CAS is a group that is Center for Information Security, provides a list of configurations that should be checked on every server. Our tool will scan your server against that standards, and it will provide you a report, and it also allows you to automatically fix those issues. Imagine like you are having 1,000 servers on your data center, and if you are running a scan, like every server is having like 50 failures. So the number of effort which you want to put in fixing that is going to be humongous. Like if you want to, our tool can automatically do that, so you can save a lots of effort in fixing those security issues. And we also provide a rollback option, because in security, if you change something, application may not react based on that. So we offer a rollback, so you can roll back, and so that you can identify the issue and then fix it later. So this is the two offerings on the security perspective from ZippyOps. Then that's it. And you can reach us at zippyops.com or mail us at zipsales@zippyops.com.